I now want to call on Representative Barton, ranking member of the committee, for his opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you for your hard work on this issue. It is an issue that you and I have a fundamental disagreement about, but there's no disagreement about the sincerity of your efforts and those on your side of the aisle, and I hope that there's no disagreement about the sincerity of the efforts of the Republicans on the minority side of the aisle to address this in a professional and let's say informational way as we go through the markup. At some point today, it's my understanding that you're going to offer a manager's amendment in the nature of a substitute. It's my understanding that it is basically the bill that was finally unveiled last Friday with an additional 16 pages of text. I'm told that it adds up to 948 pages, which is a growth rate of about 50% over the draft that you and Chairman Markey released several months ago. There have been numerous days of hearings and quite a few witnesses on the generic issue, but on the actual guts of the bill, the allowance system and the mechanics of that, there hasn't been a hearing at all. And in our discussions last week, you indicated that you intended to go to markup without there being even 1 day of hearing on that very important part of the bill. I think that's a mistake. I think when you are about to embark on an episode of putting the entire American economy, which is the world's largest, through an absolute economic ringer, it would be beneficial to the public to have at least 1 day of hearing on that important part of the bill. But that's just my I don't know how to say this, but that's just my wish that we could actually have some transparency in that part of it. We do know from what we've gleaned and the fact that the guts of the bill are now public, that the cost is going to be astronomical. Now, why do I say that? There are about 7 billion metric tons of man-made CO2 that are emitted each year, or at least last year, by the U.S. economy. Now, I don't know what the bill that's going to be introduced actually uses as its baseline, and it may not be that baseline. But supposedly 85% of the allowances have been given away. Well, that leaves 15%. 15% of 7 billion is about 1.5 billion metric tons. Now, we don't know what the cost of these tons is going to be. Your manager's amendment uses a number of $10 a metric ton. I've seen estimates as high as $200 a ton. EPA used $20 a ton. Most neutral economists use $50 to $100 a ton. So pick your number. Even at $10 a ton, that's $15 billion a year. If you go up to $200 a ton, that's $300 billion per year. Now, to put that number in perspective, Mr. Chairman, the entire revenue generated by the electricity network of our country in 2007 was about $400 billion. $400 billion. So, no matter what number you use, you're going to put a significant cost on the American economy. And what's the environmental benefit? According to scientists who support the legislation, the environmental benefit is less than 1 degree Fahrenheit in the next 100 years. But we know the cost is significant. We know the environmental benefit is basically non-existent. We also know that we're going to have a markup on a bill that until Friday around 3 o'clock, outside of the rooms that you've been sitting in negotiating the parameters of the allowance giveaway, nobody's seen. So the Republicans are going to have a number of amendments. We're going to have a complete substitute that we released last Thursday that I'll offer at the appropriate time. Our substitute does not have cap and trade in it. Our substitute does have a renewable, what we call a clean energy standard. So we believe that at the appropriate time, if enough members of the majority will join us, we could offer an amendment that could pass, wouldn't wreck the economy, would have some economic benefits, and wouldn't do any environmental harm. I see my time's expired, Mr. Chairman, so let me simply say we look forward to this week. We're glad that you've decided to go to Markup, and speaking on behalf of the Republicans, we're fully prepared to engage in a very positive way this week.
Thank you, Mr. Barton.